Hi friends, welcome to my channel where I discuss tech and travel. In today's video, I wanted to discuss why there's so much hype over becoming a software engineer. But before we get started, if you haven't already, I would love it if you liked and subscribed. It helps me out a lot and it also motivates me to continue making more videos. And with that, let's get started. For a really long time, the narrative around being in the software engineering industry was centered around young, tech-savvy kids who dropped out of college and/or graduated to find themselves immediately making six-figure salaries, eating enormous amounts of free food, and scootering around campus to and from their meetings, working on a fancy campus in Silicon Valley in essentially what was advertised as an adult playground. I'm talking swings, bouncy houses, going down slides. It was the classic stereotype that most of us bought into. And while that still may be true of some companies, it mostly applies to those bigger tech, faang, as well as unicorn companies such as Google, Meta, Snapchat, Twitter, Dropbox, Netflix. But the reality is most software engineers don't work at those companies. It's a very select few that actually hoards the media attention, and that's why we have such a skewed image of what software engineering looks like today. That being said, I wanted to bring some realistic expectations to the table for anyone that's considering becoming a software engineer. I personally love it, but I wanted to talk about what the average developer can expect when they're entering the industry and what kind of things that they can demand being a highly in-demand skilled worker in this market. So you've probably heard this time and time again, but the market is really hot for software engineers, especially in 2022. What exactly does that mean though? There are currently an estimated 831,300 software engineers in the US today. And the job market for this industry is expected to grow by 30.7% in the next 5 years. Career Explorer rates software engineering with an A employability rating, and the Bureau of Labor and Statistics projects that employment for software engineers is growing 4% higher on average than any other career. Basically, there's a much higher demand for software engineers than actual software engineers that exist today. This means the ball is in your court. Be picky when choosing what's most important to you. Whether that's asking for more flexibility, better benefits, more responsibilities. Not a lot of careers have the same luxury of being this picky when choosing an employer, and trust me, take advantage of that. The next reason you should consider becoming a software engineer is flexibility. Since COVID has started, skilled workers have had a chance to work from home. And regardless of whether or not you want to work from home or go into the office, at least you'll have that flexibility of either a hybrid workplace or being able to work fully remote from the location of your choice. So be sure to demand that if that's what you want. I personally love working remotely, so I'm based in the Midwest while my actual company is on the West Coast in Seattle. Many of my friends have taken opportunities such as requesting to go work abroad and go visit other countries and learn about other cultures. As a software engineer, you honestly just need a laptop with enough storage. You may need a desktop, you may need some extra things such as a monitor and a mouse and a keypad, but in reality, you can definitely make it work with just a laptop. It's a lot easier for you to be flexible as a software engineer. If you think about it, the thing that most software engineers do on a day-to-day basis is communicate with other team members, whether that's checking their emails, responding to Slack and/or Teams messages, or just working asynchronously by updating the documentation, or spending time in meetings. The other function of a developer is actually developing in order to finish a task or a story. To do that, you really just need good internet, you need a laptop, you also maybe need access to company resources, so you could use something like a VPN. And when it comes to making architectural decisions, again, you can use Teams or Zoom to actually chat and collaborate with coworkers as long as you have a safe space where you can have conversations. So it really isn't that hard to be flexible and work from pretty much any location of your choosing. Other than demand, job stability, and flexibility, there's also the factor of pay. So right now, inflation has risen by 6%. If you want to check out my video on how to negotiate, feel free to click above. But for the most part, software engineers are making a lot of money. And again, I know there's that narrative of people who are just graduating from college and making six figures right out of college, but that's not necessarily always the case. You can still make a decent amount of money. Feel free to check out my video on average software engineering salaries in the US based on location, company, and role. But again, on average, you can expect to make quite a bit of money for sitting at home and working on your laptop. It's basically a dream come true for introverts. Just from my previous role to this role, I had a 100% increase in salary. So it's really not, I don't want to say easy, but it's definitely more doable and reasonable for you to demand a higher salary because of the situation we're in, because of how in demand skilled workers are, and also the leverage that you have as a software engineer. The next thing is challenge. So obviously, again, I'm not preaching becoming a software engineer if you are not interested in solving challenges, using logic, learning how to code, understanding how to architect systems, or even just like gathering business requirements to understand what needs to be done in order to implement a task. I know that there's a lot of specific skills that go into software engineering. I truly believe that anyone can learn, but you do have to want it. So if you don't want to be a software engineer and you're mostly going into it for the money or for the flexibility, it's probably not the right career for you. But if you do like logical games and or coding, I would say it's one of the best gigs. You get to sit at your laptop, solve fun challenges, talk with your team members, collaborate with people. The environment is generally pretty good in software engineering roles, just because, again, employers know it and we know it too. It's just that white elephant in the room that because software engineers are in demand right now, employers want them to be in an environment that helps them grow and helps them flourish. A lot of people are also preaching the growth mindset, which I really like a lot. There used to be a lot of pressure in the 90s and 2000s for software engineers to deliver, and obviously you still need to deliver certain objectives, but the culture itself is very inclusive, where people have adopted that growth mindset. So if you make a mistake, it's okay, you own up to it, and everyone helps you work together to fix it so that you can continue learning more, and not having that fixed mindset of, okay, this is the knowledge that I have and this is what I can contribute, but I can't really learn anything past that. That's not true at all. And the fact that these software engineering companies are doing a really good job of encouraging people to continue learning, especially because technology continuously changes every 3 to 5 years, I think it's a great environment to be in. It's basically like a giant lab where you can experiment and play with things. The last thing is opportunity. Working as a software engineer, you do have to wear a lot of different hats. And honestly, it doesn't necessarily matter if you work at a startup, a mid-sized company, or a large global company. I've worked at all three, and at all three, I've had to do things other than just coding. I've had to act similar to a product owner where I'm understanding what the customer wants, gathering business requirements, setting specific goals for the team. I've also had to obviously develop and code. That's the main function of a software engineer, but I've also had to test our system. I've had to create documentation for our system so it makes it easier for others to understand what exactly our product is doing. And then I've also had to do things such as mentor others and have good relationships with people on my team. Those are the reasons that I think you should go into software engineering. Again, if you're not passionate about it, then don't really go into it for those wrong reasons. But if you are passionate about it, these are some of the perks that I think you get as a software engineer. Now, obviously, the grass is always greener on the other side. Everything I tell you will come with some caveats. There are some things like employee burnout. Because there's less people that are working in these jobs, you do have a lot more responsibility as you progress in your career, which can lead to burnout. So understanding how to actually navigate work-life balance and setting boundaries is really important. But we can get into that in a later time. If you would like me to make another video on the cons of being a software engineer, please leave a comment below letting me know your experiences or just letting me know if that's something of interest to you. But for now, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Again, please like and subscribe if you liked my video. I appreciate it a lot, and it motivates me to make more videos in the long run. So for now, thank you and bye.